Okay, there we
Okay.
go. Aloha, everyone. My name is Geralyn St. Joseph, and today we're going to talk about why certain people hit us so hard, the soulmate paradox. Different people have different ideas about what a soulmate is. They use the term very loosely, a lot of people, because everybody has a different idea of it, but it is a term that people use all over. So whether you are into metaphysics or you're just into romance, people use the word soulmate. My terminology for soulmate, I believe a soulmate is someone that you have incarnated with before or who you were familiar with as a soul, as a pure soul before you incarnated, if you don't believe in past lives. And I believe that soulmates are people that come into our lives, sometimes for a moment and sometimes for a lifetime, in order to help us to achieve something. And we're there to help them to achieve something also. Soulmates are not supposed to be your everything, your do all, your be all, and your end all. At least that's not what I've seen in the years that I have been practicing. So be careful about your expectations there. Today, this is a webinar, and I will be giving you an offer at the end. This will lead into a longer, much more in depth class. But today will also help you out where you will be able to take from this class and you'll be able to utilize the lessons here. I try to be very practical. So on with the class. Why certain people hit us so hard? The soulmate paradox explained. Understanding deeper truths of intense, unforgettable connections. Okay, I consider Hawaii my home, although right at the moment I'm not in Hawaii. But I like to say aloha, ikomo mai, spiritual seekers, and that means welcome. You're in the right place if you've ever felt a connection that really shook you, a pull that you could not explain, a chemistry that felt almost spiritual, or a bond you couldn't let go of. Tonight, we're going to try to bring some clarity to this mystery. What we're going to explore specifically is why certain people impact you so deeply, the soulmate paradox. We're going to look at three types of soul recognition, why these connections hit us so deeply, the number one misconception about intense relationships, what these connections are actually here to teach us, and you're at the very end, I'll give you a gentle invitation to go deeper into a class that I'm going to be offering. Remember, this is a safe, grounded, judgment free space. So be kind, both in the comment section and if you're here live. I do not tolerate people who are unkind to one another and their beliefs and their ideas. We're here to bring together people of all faiths, all walks of life, so that we can all understand the human condition. For those of you who this is the first time that you've met me, who am I to be teaching such things? I am Geralyn St. Joseph. I am an empowerment coach and a spiritual teacher. I like to blend psychology and spirituality and make it accessible and make it transformative so that we could actually work with these things. All my work centers on empowerment, whether that be self-empowerment, heart empowerment, or soul empowerment. And there are different tracks where we study these different things. I like to guide students from confusion and pain to clarity and soul alignment. I have been teaching and working in metaphysics since 1994, and I'm a natural born psychic intuitive as well as college educated. I am not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination. So, what I am teaching is born of my experience and what I have learned self taught. So, take what works for you and what resonates and leave the rest. So, what is the soulmate paradox? The soulmate paradox is that the people who feel the most meant to be oftentimes are some of the most toxic people we could be around, or the most painful relationships. They're often the ones who activate our deepest growth in our hearts and our souls. When we think of a soulmate, a lot of people think that that's the end game. That's where we want to end up. When in reality, a lot of soulmates are not meant to stay with us forever. One thing that needs to be acknowledged is that just because you think you recognize somebody or you feel very connected to someone, that does not mean that you're compatible in the long term. So you may recognize someone's soul. You may be a wound recognition. It could be similar backgrounds. It could be soul recognition, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to get married and live happily ever after. It could just mean that whatever that is that pulls you together is what needs to be worked on. Intensity does not equal destiny. So when we're around these people and we feel this really intense pull, they may right away you feel that's what people talk about when they say, oh, it was love at first sight, or when you feel deeply connected to somebody, you want to see them all the time and it's very quick. It can mean you're ready for an activation. Intensity can be recognition on some level. It could be recognition of wounds. It could be recognition of goals or alignment. It can mean resonance in some area. It could mean unhealed wounds. Maybe you're coming together to heal something. It could be a soul contract. Soul contracts are things that we create before we incarnate. And intensity often shows us where the opportunities are for growth. It does not always mean partnership. The other thing, too, is that a lot of people think that when you have these type of feelings, that it has to be a physical or romantic relationship. It does not. It doesn't at all need to be that type of a partnership. Just like chemistry doesn't mean alignment. When we talk about chemistry, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I met this person and we went on a date and there just was no chemistry. And that what they talk about is like physical attraction. So chemistry is just a spark. You can build chemistry with someone, but alignment is foundation. They're not the same. You could have chemistry with someone, but if you're not in alignment, then it's much more difficult to maintain that relationship and to get anywhere with it. Chemistry specifically is physical. It has more to do with our biology. And we need to put it where it belongs. People give much too much weight into chemistry. Types of soul recognition. I feel like I know you. There are 3 types of soul recognition. So you have psychological, you have energetic, and you have soul level. Each type feels different, and each type teaches us something unique. So we're going to talk about each of these in turn to make it easier. We'll break it out. Psychological recognition. You know them because you've met them before in your patterns. Do you have a friend or somebody that you know, and every time they introduce you to a new boyfriend or girlfriend, like they're the same person, like it's really hard to tell them apart? Either they are physically the same, or they have the same backgrounds, or something about them is very similar. We tend to be attracted to people who match our attachment wounds. So someone who is very clingy, who has what is it called? Anxious attachment, they will tend to go towards avoidance because the avoidance are there and then they're not. and then they're there, and then they're not. And the anxious attachment will keep chasing. You might have similar dynamics where maybe you like a lot of drama, or maybe you like a lot of peace, or you have inner child resonance. That could be several different things where maybe your partner is still stuck in an inner child wound, and maybe you have big mama or big daddy energy. And so that attracts you to one another. Maybe you are the caretaker and they wanted to be taken care of. So this is the difference between trauma bonding and true bonding. When we find our true partners, it is a partnership where we are equal, where sometimes you're the one pulling the weight, sometimes they are the one pulling the weight. You discuss things, there's communication, you're on a level playing field. Then there is energetic recognition. Your energy systems seem to recognize each other. And this is where we talk about frequency. So your frequency has resonance. So if I'm a high vibe person and I try to be very positive and keep everything up and be happy, I will either connect with someone who also seems to be that, or it could be the opposite where I am always pulling up and they're always down here. So it pulls them up so that they feel really comfortable around somebody who is high vibe. It could have past life echoes where our energetics will recognize each other. It could be nervous system activation. And what that means is that you get excited when you're around each other. But the thing is, a lot of times when we get excited being around each other, we think this is great. And that is not necessarily what it is. You could get excited when you're around each other because you might be afraid of that person. But we don't see it as that because maybe that's the way you're used to feeling. So when you walk into a room, often your energy walks in before you, depending on how big your energy is, and it will speak to a person or speak to the place before you consciously do so. And energetic recognition is speaking to imprints and karmic threads. So, do you have the same lesson to learn? Have you had the same kind of experiences or polar experiences, like the opposite of one another, where your opposites attract? And then we have soul level recognition. This is the bigger than us feeling. This is the, we have something big to do together. We're going to change the world. Our energy together. This is the power couple, like that kind of thing. Whether that be friends, partnership in business, or romantic partners, or all three. So soul level recognition, again, soul contracts. These are things that we've agreed upon before we came to Earth. And if you're curious about what soul contracts are, I do have a whole video on YouTube specifically about soul contracts. It's also about agreements. What have we agreed to do with one another? We are purpose driven. So again, we're going to change the world. This is bigger than us. We need to work together. This is going to really catalyze a lot of things. So it's growth catalysts, but it's a growth catalyst not just for you and for them. Oftentimes it expands out from there. So it could be a growth catalyst. Maybe you learn something from one another, and then when the relationship isn't there anymore, maybe you write a book about it and it changes 100 lives. So soul level recognition really is, the feeling is very vast. Why these connections hit so hard? The intensity that you feel in the presence of the other person or for the other person or for the relationship equals the depth of the opportunity for growth. So these connections touch every part of you. They touch you on every level. It is psychological, it is physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual, it is everything. And because it hits you on so many different levels, the intensity is so much greater than someone who you just connect with on one level. So these connections touch your wounds, your gifts, your fears, your longing, and your soul memory. And they show up in different things like the mirror effect. So the mirror effect is someone who comes into your life and they're going to mirror what you need to see about yourself. So they will reflect what you haven't healed in yourself. When people say that the world is just reflecting back to you what you are, this is part of what they're talking about. So you're going to be with a person who is so frustrating because whatever, X, Y, and Z. And if you really look at it, you're going to see, oh, wait, I do that. They're just reflecting back to me
Mm-hmm.
who I am because you are aligned in that way. You're the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they could be there in a reflection of what you're ready to grow into. So there we go. And they could also be there to remind you of who you really are, things that you've forgotten about yourself. So, for instance, these connections, like we might have been coming out of a very abusive or very difficult relationship, and we meet somebody who just seems to be all the things that we want to be. And what they're showing you is this is who you really are. This is what you're capable of. This is who you can be and who maybe you were before. So the mirror effect is really important in that way because it hits us in such a way that it makes us reflect back on ourselves and wonder, okay, what can I do with this? What is this trying to show me? And there's a lot of growth and expansion in that kind of a relationship. Then you have the chemistry loop. And this is where your body reacts first. And like I said, it's a very physical thing when we talk about chemistry. And when we're talking about that kind of a loop, you need to be touched or you want to be loved. And it's like this longing and this pull where you completely ignore any red flags that are there. There's probably a ton of other stuff that you should be looking at, and all you're looking at is, God, you are so attractive. And that could be with a friend or with a lover. It could be with a business partner. You're everything I want this to be. And but that's not really who they are. That's where you're putting them because your body and your chemistry is reacting to who they are so much quicker than anything else. And then you sink into that and you kind of hook your wagon to that. That's something we really need to be aware of. Like, is this, if you step back and you really get away from the person and you take away that chemistry, what is it there that is this teaching you something? Is this helping you? Is this something where you would choose to be? If you saw your friend in this relationship, would you say that that's a great relationship? Stay there, do this, that kind of thing. Or would you tell them, you need to run. This person is not good for you, you know, or just say, you seem to be friends with benefits and nothing more. So we're talking about when we go into the physical and the energetic and the emotional side of things, there is in your chakra system, there's something called the heart complex. So this is the more metaphysical part of it. It's a very powerful connection that activates three layers. So you have three layers of the heart chakra. The main heart or the middle heart, and that's where your emotional truth is. That looks like the yin yang symbol. That's where you're balancing masculine and feminine. That's where it's green and pink, and it balances out the love that you give and the love that you receive. One of the things that happens, especially when you've been hurt, is some people just give and give and give, but they cannot accept. You have to learn how to accept also. Um, then you have the lower heart, which is just above the bottom of your sternum. It's above your solar plexus. And that I call the inner child chakra. And that's where you house your inner child and your inner child's wounds. It's often a rose color or a dusty rose color. And that is something that I like to work with. I have several different programs where we've worked with the inner child, and I'm sure I have videos on YouTube for free that you can watch about it also. But your inner child is basically the version of yourself that got stuck at an age as you were growing up. So it may be the age of greatest trauma. It could be the age of where you had the best year of your life, or it could be anywhere in between. But it reflects to you both innocence and pain. When we work with our inner child, and we do this in psychology, we could do this metaphysically, you could do it energetically. When you work with the inner child and you embrace your inner child, you accept your inner child for everything that they are, you're also accepting yourself as an adult. You're also accepting the fact that as a child, there was nothing you could do really about your situation because you were a child. You couldn't run away to another house. You couldn't support yourself. You were at the mercy of your caregivers. Then you have the upper heart, and the upper heart is right here. It's just below the throat chakra, and that is a beautiful turquoise color. And I call that the Christ point. And what that is your point of compassion. So once you heal what's down here, then you can activate the Christ point safely because that is compassion. And compassion, when used correctly, changes the world. Compassion, when not used correctly, can be very destructive to both you and the people you're trying to help. So there's a balance in these 3 points that needs to be discovered. Okay, so how do we get stuck? How do we get stuck with these emotions or these people or these thoughts? We misinterpret the meaning of our emotions. So, one of the best examples of this I talk about a lot is passion. We want passion in our relationship, passion, passion, passion. If you look at what the word passion actually means, that word means pain. Do you really want passion? And what creates that feeling? It's a feeling of uncertainty, it's excitement, which is also anxiety, depending on how you want to read it. It's that butterflies in your stomach. I mean, you could be in love with somebody and excited about them and have very similar emotions, but oftentimes what we tag as like, oh, this is our person, this is where we want to be, and they make me feel so excited, and this, that, and the other thing. It's fear. It's fear of loss. It's a sense of really not having sure footing. Especially in our society in the West, we glamorize this sense of uncertainty. We glamorize that, you know, oh, you never know if the person's going to leave you, and there's so many things that aren't necessary that will come up when we talk about these types of relationships that really hit us deeply, that really dig into our soul. And again, it's hitting you in your wounds, generally speaking. Now, I will talk about also about healthy soulmate relationships, but right now we're talking about the type that just stick with us that we can't seem to get over. Intensity does not mean destiny. So just because you may have a very intense initial reaction to someone, or the relationship is a bunch of ups and downs, that doesn't mean that you're destined to be together. There are times where we really need to step back and move into our logic and look at it from the outside looking in and say, would I want my child to be in this kind of relationship? Would I wish this on my best friend? Like, what kind of a relationship is this? And is it helping or hurting? And we also get stuck because once the emotion hits and we're like, I never felt like that before. Well, maybe that's a good thing. We don't think about that though, because we're used to feeling numb. Once the emotion hits, we talk ourselves into staying in this relationship. We talk ourselves into continuing. We talk ourselves into believing that all these red flags don't exist, or it's just for the moment, or you know, add your own. So we get stuck because of a misinterpretation of what's happening and a lack of clarity and a lack of objective observation. The number one misinterpretation of these types of relationships, of soulmate type relationships, is intensity equals destiny. It's where most people get stuck. They think it was so intense though, and in the beginning it was so good. Well, you're 10 years in. Did you ever get back to that beginning? You might have seen like little bits and pieces here and there, but is it like that? Is that the person that you're with, or is the person that you're with a fantasy? Intensity, we have to remember, is often a call to healing, integration, completion, growth, and empowerment, not necessarily union. Oftentimes, these really intense relationships, especially as we find the strength in ourselves to pull them apart, it will teach us how to become more empowered in ourselves. It will show you where your wounds are and what needs to be healed. It will help you to integrate your inner child and to put a cap on it, and help you to complete that phase, whatever that might be, and to grow into the person that you're meant to be. So it's not necessarily union. You're not necessarily supposed to be with that person all the time. Especially a lot of times I'll have people talk to me about they're in a relationship and they're, oh, this person, I'm so attracted to them and I think they're my soulmate. And you're married. Yeah, I know, but you know, does your marriage mean something to you or does it not mean something to you? Is this something that you're willing to give up the life that you've built and to go against your faith to yourself? Or is this something that just feels good in the moment and it satisfies a need in the moment? So the loops that people get stuck in as they fall into longing, like they just think about the person all the time, they just want that person. It gives them confusion. They're confused. How does this person feel about me? And maybe they're giving you, they're breadcrumbing you, where they're giving you a little bit here and there, but there's nothing solid, and you can't back them against the wall and be like, okay, what is this? Where are we going? Um, you start ruminating if this happens, but only if they would do this. I remember when I got out of a really bad relationship, I was like, well, if he had only just relaxed into the relationship, that was all I was asking. And he never fully relaxed into the relationship. So he never fully committed to the relationship, but I was committed to the relationship. So it was very uneven. But thinking in those terms is not helpful. Now, thinking in the terms of, okay, he didn't relax into the relationship, so he really wasn't committed. So this really wasn't someplace I needed to be. So this really wasn't something that I needed to put more energy into and more energy into. So it's really good that we're not together. You could use rumination for your benefit, but oftentimes it's so wrapped up in our emotional bodies and our energetic bodies. This is how we feel. This is the way we want it to be. And again, that's longing. It could be so great if you just let me, but that's not the reality. People fall into obsession where they're just constantly thinking about that person. That person is the center point of their lives, and it's all consuming, where they lose friends, they lose other relationships, they're not talking to family, or it might be a friend who does it to you too. Like I said, these don't have to be romantic relationships. I've seen these happen in friendships also, and families. People will fall into spiritual bypassing, and spiritual bypassing, I would say, I kind of equate that to, it's a detachment. So when we spiritually bypass, we're like, oh, well, it's a soulmate relationship and we're supposed to be together forever. And you make excuses for it and you just refuse to see anything that's down there. Well, I'm happy and every day and every way I'm getting better and better. And, you know, that's just the way it is, because when we first met, this is the way I felt. So this is the way it's got to be. So you're ignoring everything else. Um, and the last is fantasy attachment. So fantasy attachment is because they are this fantasy in your head and it's not real. because of the way it hit you in the beginning, you built up this ideal of what it was to become and who this person was. And sometimes that doesn't even have to do with the other person. It has more to do with you. So when I do the list, when we talk about the list, how you write your list of your perfect mate, and what we do is if somebody meets one or two of those criteria, we just kind of staple that list right to their forehead, and we're not really looking at them. We're looking at our list and we're assuming that they have all those things. And then it's heartbreaking as we realize that they don't and we feel betrayed. But in reality, we have betrayed ourselves. And I think that is the biggest thing that we need to learn from getting stuck in these types of relationships and these types of cycles, is that we can talk ourselves into it, but we can also talk ourselves out of it. And we need to recognize that the biggest betrayal is to ourselves, is to our soul, because we're not allowing ourselves to grow and to move on and to shift in a different direction. So we need to learn how to let go. We need to let go of that fantasy. We need to let go of that obsession. We need to let go of that longing. And we need to clarify the confusion into recognition of this is what is, not what we want it to be, not what it was in the beginning, but this is what it is right now. What can we learn from these people? What can we learn from these relationships? And I do feel like it has more to do with the relationship itself rather than the person, although the person can have things to teach us also, but it's the dynamic. If that dynamic isn't there, then the lessons aren't as intense. So these relationships are initiations, and it's an initiation into self-worth. Are you self-empowered? Are you denying yourself? Are you betraying yourself? It's an initiation into boundaries. A lot of these relationships are very entangled. They are entanglements as much as they are relationships. This is where codependency comes in, and unhealthy codependency. It teaches us about emotional maturity, about soul alignment. Are we in alignment with who we are and who we came here to be? Do we feel like we are living our lives the way they're meant to be lived? And that's an internal thing. That's not something necessarily that somebody else is going to be able to come along and tell you, but it's something that we feel deep in our souls. And when we're not living in soul alignment, what happens is we'll get sick, people will gain weight, or you get way too skinny. You things just don't seem to work. There's this sense of I'm going to say a sense of weight on you, and it's difficult to move forward. It's difficult to move, so you just keep treading in the same area. We're looking for heart empowerment. And heart empowerment is activating those three different spaces of your heart and really fully living from our heart. Our heart has an intelligence and a magnetic field, and it does so much more than we think about. Like we think about everything's in the brain, and it's not. There is a secondary brain in our heart that helps run the rest of the body. The body can survive without the brain, but it cannot survive without the heart. So, energetically and physically, the heart is far more important than we give it credit for. And when I say heart empowerment and that we're living from our heart, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going on every whim. It's when your heart is empowered, it is mature, it is aware, it knows how to protect itself, it has boundaries, it is you to your fullest extent. Because when the heart is fully empowered, then your soul is empowered. Then everything else you have to come up against is secondary. Self-empowerment has to do a lot with your connection to the world and how you show up in it. Heart empowerment is about the connection between the metaphysical, the physical, the mental, the emotional, it's everything together. And then soul empowerment is about, it could be old contracts or things that hit very deeply that need to be cleared or moved out so that we know and we could talk and live out of a level that is complete. And the other thing that we can learn is healing your lineage patterns. So what's a lineage pattern? What is that? So that is a fascinating study, is that women often lose their virginity the same time as their mothers did. And they can go back and look at relationships where the child was not even raised by that mother and the child still has a similar experience around that. So that's cellular memory. And that cellular memory is part of your lineage. So if lineage patterns are, you could have addiction, you can have abuse, you can have mental illness. There could be all kinds of things in your lineage that you're carrying in your DNA and in your cellular patterns, but they can be healed. Like it's brought to the next generation, and each generation it can be chipped away at and healed. And if it's conscious that this is what we want to do and this is the way we want to live, then you can heal that pattern without it taking 7 generations and 8 generations, sometimes even longer if they keep persisting. So these relationships that are so deep and can be so, so painful, they are very, very important. They help you become everything that you're meant to be. They help you really expand into your fullness. And they help you discover who you are. Okay. So right now, what I want to do is center and focus on our hearts. I would like you to consider a relationship, either past or present, that is affecting you. And I want to explore that connection and discharge that energy. So, what we're doing is we're focusing, it could be like if it's a current relationship, that is a relationship that you really value and you want to keep, but there seem to be like weird things that come up all the time that keep interfering, that are not like, well, he or she punched me in the face, you know, those you really need to get out of there if you can. But things where it just seems like things come up situationally that don't necessarily need to be there. So we're going to want to discharge that energy. Or if it's a relationship from the past that is still holding on to you and just has its hooks in your heart, we're going to want to release that completely, let it go, push it away, and let that person go. Let our ideas and our impressions, the imprint from that person, we're going to want to remove that so that we can then fill that space with us instead of that space being filled with them. Okay. What I would like to do right now. Okay, so now we will begin our little meditation to help you center. We're going to discharge that energy so things are not quite as intense. You can also use things like pulling cords in order to accomplish this. So, what I would like you to do is relax, have your feet flat on the floor, or you can lay down, whatever you're comfortable, whichever way you're comfortable. We're going to start with a little breathing exercise. Okay. All right. Take a take a deep breath. Hold it and let it go slowly. And relax. And again, hold it and let it go slowly. And one more time, take a deep breath. Hold it and let it go slowly. Relax. There's a ball of white light above our heads. From it emanates shafts of light that enter us to the tops of our heads and fills us with its energy. See the energy as it flows through you. Feel it as it cascades over you. The energy resembles a golden white aura. It fills your head and down your throat, into your lungs, your shoulders, your arms. Feel it as it flows through your stomach, your waist, moves down into your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, and out your feet. See yourself as glowing from within. Feel the golden white light like the warmth of the sun as it touches your skin and your hair. And feel yourself as you brighten to match the light. And as you become brighter and brighter, and you expand out of your body, past the confines of the physical, feel the things that tug on you, the people, the places, the experiences. Feel in your body, energetic and otherwise, where this weight is held. And as we sense the biggest, heaviest weight, we turn our attention to it and we see it where it connects, where it leads. As we become gold and white energy, and we focus on this heaviness, we feel the warmth like a golden white oil, gently dismantling, dismembering, and destoring this energy from our system. It removes it from every level of our being, from the physical, mental, emotional, etheric, spiritual, and soul, and is gently washed away and broken down to its most basic components, becoming pure energy, neutral, vibrant. And as it falls away, we feel that area expand as the gold and white oil fills and repairs it. Whatever comes to mind, let it go. Speak it aloud if you can. Write it down. This is something you want to remember, but we're also letting it go. The memory is there so that when we meet it again, we do not fall into the same trap. We do not act by the same script. We have taken our lesson. We have completed our karma with this, and we are moving forward. Take a deep breath and let it go. And as these energetic components, they fall to the earth, and the earth mother graciously takes them to recycle them so that its energy may be put to much greater use. And let us expand our energetic and feel ourselves big and bright and beautiful. Feel into that spot and know that the energy is cleared. And the bright white light once again washes our entire being, like rinsing our hair with a jet of bright white light. We feel it like water moving through us, around us, and it washes away all the particles, all the dirt, all the indecision, all the confusion, leaving clarity, leaving love, leaving self-acceptance. And in this expanded form, and with this lightness of being, let us love ourselves. Hold yourself in an embrace. Let this light flow in a loop, caressing, holding, and freeing us from the ties that bind. Take a deep breath and let it go. And as we relax back down into our body, We feel the sensation of energy and light as it moves in and through us. We let this healing wash over us. We are complete. And the ball of white light contracts and ascends, leaving a soft white glow on all it touched. And as you leave refreshed, renewed, and reawakened. Take a deep breath and let it go. Come back into your body fully. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, everyone. If you would like, if you have any questions or you want to share your experience, please put it in the chat, or you may want to raise your hand. Okay. All right. So hopefully you're feeling a lot better, and we will be doing questions and open discussion after this. And I hope this encourages everyone to try to make these live because they're so much more fun that way. But if not, and if you're watching the replay, you could put questions in the comments down below. Put a question mark first so that it's easy for me to find and see as I'm looking through them. And let's go back. Okay. So tonight we open the door. And if you're ready to walk through it, I have something powerful for you that you may want to be a part of. So I am starting a program called Soul Connections, the Soul Empowered Heart. Get the empowerment connection there. It's going to be a 10-week journey into understanding, healing, and empowerment. The program arc is the first 6 weeks, we're going to be building and understanding. I do have it up on my website, GeralynStJoseph.com, so you would be able to see like what each week is. And then weeks 7 to 10 are healing and empowerment. So it's going to be a complete transformation of your heart, your patterns, and your inner landscape. Those last 3 weeks are when we're going to be doing a lot more of the energy work and really doing the deep dive coaching and things like that. The first 6 classes is we're looking at everything. And like tonight, we'll probably do different things. That's usually my MO. I like to do some type of clearing or energy healing or meditation to help set in whatever the lessons are. And also so that Chris can go to bed right afterwards because it usually puts her to sleep. Some people get really relaxed. So we're going to be looking at the heart complex, and we're going to be working on the heart complex as a whole. Um, and we're going to be talking about soul contracts and patterns and picking out patterns in our lives. And again, I feel like a lot of people think when we're talking about soulmates that we're only talking about relationships that are romantic, and that is not what it is at all. It's all your relationships. You can have a soulmate who is like my father was one of my soulmates because we have incarnated with each other before. My child is one of my soulmates. We kind of tumble through time, taking turns being the parent. So we're going to look at these patterns that we've developed. And that's going to be on every level. So it can be with family, it could be with friends, it could be in your romantic relationships, it could be at work. It weaves out to every aspect of your life. So this is not just about people looking for that special love or the one, as they say. We're going to talk about energetic boundaries and how do we set them, energetic and otherwise, and emotional integration. How do we stop ourselves from being reactive and things like that? And then we're going to talk about having an empowered love in alignment with who we are and who they are, because a relationship should be a partnership. It needs to be there for both parties. What you will experience if you choose to do the deep dive is deep clarity about your past and present connections. As I said, we're going to be looking at the whole weave of your life. Emotional relief and nervous system soothing, things like doing the breathing like we just did, that's very good for settling down the vagus nerve and helping you feel more comfortable in your own skin. Discharge of old contracts, patterns, and energetic entanglements, things like pulling cords, denouncing contracts. We'll figure out what the patterns are and what they're meant to tell us. You'll have a grounded understanding of soulmate type dynamics so that when you feel one again, or you walk into one, or maybe you're in one now, you'll know how to traverse it and how to utilize it for your greatest good and your partner's greatest good. You'll have a stronger, clearer, more empowered heart. And I'll be giving you tools that you could use for the rest of your life. You could use them in all your relationships. So hopefully there's a shift from longing to alignment, from confusion to clarity, and from heartbreak to empowerment. That will be our goal. Now, like any class of this kind, your participation is necessary. If you do the work will help you. If you choose not to do the work, then you could sit there and listen all day long and there's not going to be a change. So it's about changing from the inside out. So this is an investment in you. The full course is $1,200. Payment plans are available. Remember, it's 10 weeks. And you can find it at GeralynStJoseph.com, Soul Connections. I'm also offering the classes individually. So if there are certain classes that really stand out to you, you can take them. If you've worked with me before and you feel like, well, we've done this, this, and this, I don't need those, then you could do it a la carte, so to speak. There are certain classes where I will talk to you if I feel like it's not good for you to skip something before. And there are discounts for my current students. So my current students is anyone who has taken part in a paid class in the last 12 months. And the last thing I want to offer you is that if you are here right now today, and I'm going to pause the recording because I'm not offering this to everybody. It's just who was here live. So remember, it is 10 classes, and each class will run between an hour and a half and 2 hours, generally speaking. The more participation, the longer the classes go. Anyone who's worked with me will tell you that there are times where my classes go all night. So I'm here to support you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. And join me for our new journey, the Soul Empowered Heart. You can contact me directly, text or talk. My phone number is 808-261-7866, or you can email me at Geralyn@voiceofspirit.com. My website is GeralynStJoseph.com, or you could just Google my name. I am all over the place. I hope you'll you'll join me and I'll see you there because this one's going to be really fun. And I feel like it's going to really make a big difference in how you relate to the people around you. So for right now, I'm going to bid you adieu. Spiritual seekers, may God bless you and the angels see your way safely. Mahalo. And if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Ring the little bell because you never know when I'm going to go live. Bye-bye.